Day 1145 of the Trump administration, leaving 239 days to go until our 2020 presidential election. And our current president is facing what is easily his largest leadership crisis, serious business that involves the loss of human life. He has also become a part of the story as of today, when several people who've had contact with him, including one guy who flew with him on Air Force One today, have agreed to quarantine themselves because they have come in contact with the virus. And our vice president didn't know this evening when asked if our president had been tested for the coronavirus. Turned out he has, and he has not been tested for the coronavirus. The spread of it is changing life in America, as it already has overseas. The U.S. has about 700 confirmed cases now. And here is what the Surgeon General said about the government response today.
We are shifting from a containment posture, where we're trying to keep the virus out of communities, to one of mitigation. We expect the number of cases to go up rapidly.
This was a terrible day on the financial markets. The Dow fell over 2,000 points. Most people live their whole lives without seeing something like that. Indeed, the largest single-day point drop in history. The sell-off was so intense that just after the opening bell, trading was halted as a precaution for the first time in more than 2 decades. Oil is now at its lowest price in decades. Russia and the Saudis are fighting over price, which will crush some of the smaller players in the market, no doubt. And earlier tonight, just a few hours after the markets closed, Trump appeared at the now daily White House coronavirus briefing to tell the nation that he's focused on dealing with the economic fallout from the outbreak.
We just attended a very important task force meeting on the virus that everybody is talking about all over the world. No matter where you go, that's what's on people's minds, and we are going to take care of. We are going to be asking tomorrow, we're seeing the Senate. We're going to be meeting with House Republicans, Mitch McConnell, everybody, and discussing a possible payroll tax cut or relief, substantial relief, very substantial relief. That's a big number. We're going to be working with companies and small companies, large companies, a lot of companies, so that they don't get penalized for something that's not their fault. This was something that we were thrown into, and we're going to handle it, and we have been handling it very well.
And now, as we mentioned, there are questions about the president's own possible exposure to those who've been exposed to the virus. Over the weekend, we learned a person who attended the annual CPAC, Conservative Political Action Conference, a few weeks ago, was in close contact with several Republican lawmakers, including Senator Ted Cruz, Congressman Paul Gosar, Congressman Doug Collins. All three have announced they have chosen to self-quarantine. After his CPAC exposure, Collins was on hand to greet the president by shaking hands. That was just on Friday as he toured the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. Congressman Matt Gaetz, who last week showed up to vote on coronavirus funding wearing a gas mask, learned of the first fatality in his own Florida congressional district this weekend. He has since learned he also came into contact with that CPAC attendee. He is now under self-quarantine. But before he learned of his exposure, he boarded Air Force One today with the president after attending a party with the president at Mar-a-Lago. Another Republican lawmaker, Texas Republican Congressman Louis Gohmert, a rapturous Trump supporter, said he, too, was warned he may have been exposed at CPAC, but he's decided not to self-quarantine and return to Washington instead. The incoming White House Chief of Staff, North Carolina Congressman Mark Meadows, says he's tested negative for coronavirus, but says he'll stay in quarantine until Wednesday because he's learned he was also in contact with the infected person at CPAC. Tonight, White House reporters asked the vice president if the president's been tested.
Has the president been tested? He's been in contact with people who were in proximity to somebody who had the virus.
Let me be sure and get you an answer to that. I honestly don't know the answer.
Not long ago tonight, the White House did provide an answer. The press secretary issued a statement that reads in part, and we quote, "President has not received COVID-19 testing because he has neither had prolonged close contact with any known confirmed patients, nor does he have any symptoms. President Trump remains in excellent health, and his physician will continue to closely monitor him." Former White House Chief of Staff Leon Panetta, who also happens to have been a Secretary of Defense and CIA director, notes that this public health crisis is testing the president's credibility.
This president has had a hard time with the truth since he entered the presidency and before that. The American people want to be able to trust what the president is saying to them. But in many ways, he's forfeited that trust by the fact that he continues to shade the truth.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.